Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
And I have a question that I want to start with today that is rather a long one, so I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Sure. But we had a mom, an amazing mom, write in with an elopement issue. So this is a 5-year-old, and he is, I think, a mechanical genius, is what I want to say, and he knows what he wants, and what he wants is to be outside the door. Now, in their apartment, previously there was management that was working at the apartment, and they were made aware of the fact that this young man is a flight risk, but now management has changed a little bit, and the last couple of days in this horrible heat wave that we were having, their air conditioning went out. And at one point, they were waiting for the air conditioning man to come to the door, and there was a knock at the door, and Mom thought it was the air conditioner. Now, she's got locks. She already has a hotel lock, but this is how brilliant this kid is. He has learned that if you open the door, open and close it several times, that you can work the hotel lock to the place where you, I mean, this is 5-year-old. He's figured this out. And there's other locks on the door, and he's figured those out as well, too. So he had to put a chair up to be able to get the highest lock that she did, and she has several locks. He got out. She went to the door, and I think he was so brilliant that he closed the door behind him. She heard a knock at the door, went, saw a chair by the door, and was like, what's going on? Opened the door, and it was the new staff that the real estate company has saying, you know, we have your child. That he was down the street. And they kind of shamed her. And, you know, read her the riot act about that. And she's really traumatized by the entire thing, a little bit afraid that they're going to report her to social services and what that will be like, right? So, you know, she made the decision, hard decision, but went out and bought a lock, an internal lock that is key only. Now, there's some concern about that because she is set. She says, what if we need to get out? But she says, I can't have him leaving, and obviously the measures I took before. And she said, I'm having, you know, these like waking terrors where she said, I know in my heart he can't get out now, but I still feel like he can. So she had concerns about if Child Protective Services show up and how you explain this to them, because some of them don't understand.
It's true.
And what to do about the feeling, Dr. Grand-Pichet, about still being concerned that he can get out, even though she feels very strongly. Now, the other thing, because I asked her for an update in the night, she said that this is how smart this kid is. He went to the door and he let her know, he said, someone's knocking. Because he wanted to see her use the key to open the door. And so she opened the door, but she took the key back and whatever. But she said, I know he wanted to see how that lock works. And in my heart, I think he's gonna, now he knows there's a key.
He's going to try to find the key and do it.
Or find a key. He's going to make it his business.
So I think there's like a couple of different parts to this question.
You think?
So let's address the I guess the safety stuff first, which I think is the most important, and then we'll talk a little bit about some things you could do to teach him to not actually go out. And then I want to also talk about kind of the anxiety mom has around this. So the first thing is make sure, I would, for anyone whose child is an eloper, I would really do a number of different things. First of all, mom's done a fantastic job with putting a lock. I would really use the type of locks that now exist where if the door opens, a very loud alarm goes off. I hate to say this because it is a little bit disturbing to everyone, but you kind of need that. I mean, that's part of, unfortunately, our children don't read the stimuli that are in our environment that teach us to be aware of danger. And so you have to make it a little bit more obvious. And let me tell you, I actually, my daughter who's in San Francisco, I just put one of those locks on her apartment because I'm just a little, overly
Right.
concerned about being in the middle of the city. And it is loud. Like, I cannot tell you it's scary. You will startle,
Yeah.
right? And I think that that's important for a number of different reasons. One is that, anytime he gets out, mom is informed.
Yeah.
Secondly, he will be startled. And I think being startled, he may avoid it. Like, it might be a aversive stimulus that he will no longer be so interested in.
Yeah.
And these noise locks, so that's one thing. And you have to get one of the ones where turning it on and off is not obvious. Like,
Right.
there are, and I have to tell you, nowadays, there's also GPS that you can actually put on him in some form or another. He doesn't need to know that it's GPS. You can either do it in the form of a bracelet, a watch. There's even small tags that you can sew into the clothing. And I would definitely do that. There's no reason not to do this because it's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and our kids, so that's very important. A lot of parents, I think, also talk to the local authorities and make sure that the local authorities know the child and know the family and know what's going on, so that if they should come across this type of situation, they know how to act. The neighbors as well. I mean, I'm going a little overboard with this because I've just
don't
heard
think
so
so.
many stories where if only one of these things had been done,
Yeah.
it would have made a big difference, right? So I think those are all factors that are important. In terms of teaching it, our kids are curious, and I think you don't necessarily want to discourage the curiosity, but your point here is to try to get your child to understand that if they want to go out, they have to have you with them. And so that is a thing you got to teach them separately, so that it's not always you being the one that takes them out, right? So you have to have a scenario where you can have the child actually come up to you and say, can we go out?
Yes.
And so at certain times of the day, you allow that. And if he comes to you and says, can we go out? You go out and you just explore. You don't necessarily immediately get into the car. You explore the neighborhood.
Right.
And so that your child knows that there is a way to go out, but it has to be together with you, right? So we used to, and if you have, like when you have a team of ABA therapists, this is one of those things where you can actually have the therapist hiding outside, and if the child does make it out, then they jump up, startle the child and say, no, and teach the child this is not the way to go. Where's mom? And the child has to go back and get mom. So there are procedures, and I think that mom has, kind of trial and error.
Yeah.
Mom or dad, I'm not sure who's writing in.
Mom.
Has definitely come to learn things that are going to help, and you're already doing those. So I also just want to touch briefly on kind of the anxiety and also the worry about how people are perceiving you. I actually talked a lot about this last week on the show that I did about anxiety, Shannon, and it's really interesting for me because every time I get into a subject like anxiety, then I see it in my own world all the time. Like this morning, as I told you, the first message I got was someone telling me that our house in Florida, the door was wide open at 5 a.m. So, and we're not there, obviously.
Right.
And so you basically start immediately, your mind, exactly. And so this is all about those things that are called cognitive distortions. They're false beliefs, right? That our mind has learned over time to develop these patterns of making conclusions based on certain things. And I mean, it's logical to assume, oh, there might be some mischief if my door is wide open, because usually that door is locked, right? And so you can go down that path and you will worry until someone gets there, right?
Right.
Or you can stop yourself and say, what are other possibilities here? And am I actually, I went through all these distortions, and a lot of them, like things like maximizing the negative, minimizing the positive, or all or none thinking, or catastrophizing, right?
Oh, I'm good at that one.
Thinking of a catastrophe, which so rarely occurs. And instead, just calling yourself and saying, hey, calm down for a minute.
Right.
And there are other possibilities. And hey, something could have happened, but until it does, why am I worrying about it, right? Apprehension about something that we don't know is just, all it does is exhausts you, burns you out, makes all that. So, mom worrying about all the things that could go wrong, I think a lot of times those worries will actually really go away or be reduced or controllable as long as you've done certain things.
Exactly.
And if you've done these safety measures, then I think it's really important to calm yourself, because you've done all you can do.
Yeah.
And maybe sit in the other room and just keep an eye on things, and it'll start to teach you, oh, okay, so nothing's happening. It's okay. He can't really get out. It's fine.
Yeah.
And just reframing your thoughts and not letting yourself get carried away with the negative thoughts.
Absolutely.
That's so important.
The taking action thing, and that was one of the things that she and I discussed, is that I said, I'm so, even though you're having the anxiety, you didn't get paralyzed. You took action. You added another lock to the door. You took some action. But I do think it's important with elopement that all the list of things that you went through.
For sure.
There's a company called If I Need Help that are parents that have an eloper, that they created QR codes, very cost effective, very inexpensive. You can get them to iron on shirts.
Yeah, I
So
love
that if
that.
your child is,
Love
then
that.
they can scan the QR code and it tells them exactly, the police are really in tune with that. But the GPS that you talked about, how many parents?
So easy now to have a GPS.
And often your insurance or your state, if you, I know in New York State, in fact, Chuck Schumer passed legislation that they would pay for it. The state would pay for it if you need, and I don't know other states that have that, but I know a lot of insurance companies, if you say to them, my child is an eloper, they will pay for one of these devices. I do want to say that many of the self-advocates that we know get very antsy around this kind of topic and say, well, you're terrorizing the child if there's an alarm, or it's unkind if you're putting a bracelet on an adult that they can't take off that shows where they are. I do want to point out that everybody is cognizant of those things, but first of all, as far as the alarms go, they put these in stores.
Yeah.
Right? This is not like singling out people. My son once triggered the exit door at the Walmart that has the big sign that says not an exit, and he pushed it and the alarm went off and he jumped 38
He was terrified,
feet.
yeah.
And it wasn't because Walmart was trying to terrify him.
What happened? Did he
and
learn?
He learned you don't touch that door,
Exactly.
right? And so it's not that it really is a safety measure. We're not asking everyone to put it on their door. We're talking about a child that's eloping. And we do know what the reason why mom is having the anxiety is because we all know what the number one cause of death for individuals who are on the autism spectrum is, and that is drowning from elopement or being hit by a car because of elopement. Those are the top two. So there is a reason to protect these individuals until they understand the inherent dangers in their environment.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I
mean,
just wanted to give that little disclaimer.
definitely. And Shannon, like a lot of parents will, for instance, when they're worried about just typically developing teenagers, let's say, they will definitely put some sort of tracking device on their car. Or like a thing that measures whether or not the child is intoxicated when they're getting in the car. So these are things we do to protect our children, right? Whether on the spectrum or not, we are trying to be protective of the child who is not aware of the dangers that are around.
Absolutely.
And again, another thing that I think is really wonderful is, and also, by the way, we do this with our seniors as well. Like a lot of, in fact, a lot of these devices were made for individuals who have Alzheimer's, who end up wandering. and you want to try to find them and get them back home, and that's really the purpose of this.
Yes, yes. I want to say good morning to all the folks that are watching us. Dr. Nagpal, Brian, Laurie, so glad that you're here with us. Luisba, Paula's here with us. Thank you, Paula. Good morning to you. Top of the morning to you, because Paula comes to us from Ireland. Dark Angel, so glad that you're here. Parker's here. Amanda's here with her blue hearts. And we're reminding
Lori and
yes, Lori's
lots of
here.
other.
We're reminding everybody that if this isn't enough for you, this hour with Dr. Grampuchet, you can tune in to her on TikTok.
TikTok, Instagram. I'm like all over social media, and I'm actually getting a lot of questions, and it's a nice kind of way for me to answer individual questions. So
Yeah.
I try to do a lot of that there
So
too.
make sure you check her out there.
If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on autismnetwork.com. We hope to see you there.